Hi, I'm Paul Friedman, founder of the Marriage Foundation, and the topic that we're going to discuss now is 3 things that are best not to say to your husband. Welcome back. I'm Paul Friedman, founder of the Marriage Foundation, and these are best to not say these 3 things to your husband. Now, I want to give these to you with a little bit of an explanation. A lot of people believe that, well, if I do this, if I say that, if I don't say this, if I do say that, it's going to change something. And in some cases, that's true. I mean, obviously, and I'm not going to hit you with the normal don't call your husband ugly thing. I'm going to try and give you an explanation that gives you some insight into your husband's psyche. You're his wife. And what you want to do is remember, he, in his mind, he's your protector. He's your king. He married you because you admired him. That's part of it. Your admiration for him was a message to him of love. Does that make sense to you? When you communicate with your husband, you're always wanting to make sure that the things that you're saying to him are making him feel loved and appreciated. Appreciated is a really big thing for a man. So let's get into these 3 things, and I'll give you thorough explanations so you get a good sense of where I'm going with this. Because don't think of this as an interesting video. Think of this as an educational video to help you have a great marriage. So number 1, never say something along the lines of, I met a great guy at work. Now, we're all human. You might say, well, he has nothing to worry about. You know he has nothing to worry about. And you may have found some interest in this guy's intellect, or maybe he's suave and debonair. Who knows? So there's a couple of parts to this. One part is that your relationships with other men should be kept businesslike if you have to interact with them, but non-existent otherwise. And it's not a matter of the principle of loyalty, it's the principle of exclusivity. Your husband wants you, and you should want you, to have an exclusive relationship where it's just the 2 of you. But there's a deep reason for this. Number 1 reason for never pointing out the better qualities of another man, the number 1 reason is you shouldn't be noticing. Your relationship with your husband is the one relationship in your life, in your entire life, where you chose to love him with all of your heart, all of your mind, and all of your energy. Once you discovered each other, that's it. There are no more men in the world for you. Of course, you see them, you have to interact with them from time to time, but they're not for you. You have your man. You may see some aspects of another man that somehow tickles your fancy or even turns you on, perhaps, but that's not cool. What is cool is for you to be so loyal to your husband in spirit that he's feeling like, I don't have to worry about her. There's no way that she's going to be interested in another man. And if you mention to your husband, I met this great guy, or I saw this guy, and da-da-da-da-da, there's a part of him that's going to feel threatened. You know, it's a very interesting thing. Let me share this with you. By the way, I used to be a divorce mediator, and it wasn't until 2001 that I started saving marriages because a couple who came to me asked me to help them save their marriage. As a communications expert, they felt, well, I could help them iron out their differences. And so I got into marriage, and I realized this topic of marriage is really deep. It's really cool because there's a couple of sides to this. Of course, in this world, we're always looking at the dark side. Why is my marriage in trouble? Why am I having problems? And I had to ask the question when I started helping my couple. I asked myself, well, why do people want to be married at all? And I thought, oh my God, I never asked myself that question. It's a deep and appropriate question. Why do we want to be married? The reason why is because we want to be happy, all of us. We want to be happier. And we know intuitively that being with this person, the soulmate who we found, is going to bring us happiness. But what we don't know is that we can be happy beyond anything we've ever imagined. I didn't know that. If you're like me, you just assume that over time you get used to somebody and you have love, and it's a beautiful love, but it's not exciting. But the truth is that it is exciting when you know how to be married. If we wouldn't even think of getting behind the wheel of a car without proper training, because it's complicated. You get into a car, we have to learn how to drive a car. We have to learn the rules of the road. We have to learn how to maintain the automobile. We have to learn how powerful this car is and what it could do. And it's wonderful what they could do. And we also have to learn what we shouldn't be doing with the car. But we get married with no education, virtually no education. Now, there's some religions that insist on an education, but I've met with those people. I've helped those people with their marriage. And guess what? The education they get is so mundane because they don't get into the essence of marriage. The essence of marriage, think about it, is love, isn't it? It's love. And put love up at the top. And under love should fall all our interactions, all our behaviors, all of our thoughts. And we're not taught even that. We're taught, well, in this situation, you do that. The situation has nothing to do with anything. The love has everything to do with everything. Anything that you might say to your husband, anything that you may imply to your husband should be saturated with love. So if you mention to your husband, well, I met this great guy at work, or, I went to the gas station and because I was having a sound in that mechanic was pretty cool. Now because I'm explaining to you that this is going to trigger some insecurity in your husband. Why? Men, and you know this, are very sensitive, insecure, and not sure, especially in this world where there's so many women who cheat on their husbands, so many husbands who cheat on their wives. And we heal these marriages where husbands cheat on their wives, but it's almost impossible to heal a marriage when a woman cheats on her husband. And why is that? Because this is touching upon this aspect of him that cannot tolerate, it's not his fault, but he cannot tolerate that level of disloyalty. Can't tolerate it. It's in a man's psyche. Just cannot take it. Where women are able to forgive and understand and move on because women are more driven by the heart. Now, some women I know, you're going to write to me, you're going to put it in the comments section, it's a double standard. I didn't create the double standard. God did. There's men and there's women, and very, very different. So you really don't want to call to your husband that you found an attribute of another man attractive. Just don't say anything. And please don't think you're bottling it up. No, you're just being discreet. You're being a good wife, a good person, because we don't want to trigger each other. We don't want to make each other feel bad or insecure or anything like that. So that's number one. Number two, and this is kind of the flip side, where a lot of women say, because they really like someone they're hanging out with, maybe they found a gym buddy and, they're doing their cardio together, or someone at work. And so women innocently ask their husband, what do you think of my friend so-and-so? Well, this is like a boomerang question, because in another way of looking at it is it could be a trap question, because you like your friend, but you don't really want your husband to like your friend, because then there's that possibility. And I'm here to tell you that for 8 years, once I started developing the process that I now have in place, in my books, I have 2 books, and in the online course for women, I worked for 8 years with individuals so I could develop all of this and get a deeper and deeper understanding. So I don't even want to tell you, because I don't remember, how many women lost their husband to their friend, usually their best friend or their sister or their cousin, someone close. And there's a second part of this. What happens is women love to talk about their husbands. And unfortunately, because of human nature, many women start talking about their husband's flaws. And so what happens is you don't want to make a connection between your friend or sister or whatever and your husband, especially because it's human nature and you may say something bad about your husband, which is really a no-no for so many reasons. And then your friend is going, oh, I don't see that in him. He's a pretty cool guy. And so don't do it. Don't ever create any kind of connection between a female friend of yours and your husband. There should be like a double yellow line between your friends and him. So you could talk about your friends with your husband, but don't create a connection. So you could say, I was hanging out with Barbie, she said this and blah, blah, blah. And, like that, no big deal. But you don't want to go into details about Barbie. You want to just leave that one alone. Okay? Number 3. So this may catch you by surprise, number 3. And I'm going to explain this. I'm not going to mansplain it. Men are very sensitive because it's in man's DNA and his subconscious mind that he's the provider, he's the protector. This is his kingdom, your marriage and your family. And it's on his shoulders to make sure that there is enough. And women don't think about that when they ask this perfectly innocent question. But they ask, if your husband wants to get something, maybe a new car or go on vacation, and a wife will innocently go, well, do we really have enough money for that? Well, that's making a statement to him that he is not good enough to earn enough to take care of his family. Think about that. And this is, you could say, well, this is kicking the ego. And that's one way of putting it. But what if it is? Is that what you want to do with your husband? Do you want to judge him? And do you want to undermine his feelings of self-worth? And the answer is no. You want to go in the other direction. You want to always express to your husband admiration, because that's a way of expressing love. And the truth is that your marriage should be and is all about love. So that's why you avoid that one. Now, there are many things you shouldn't be saying to your husband, but I want you to understand more. I want you to understand your husband more. So you don't have to go, well, I could say this, but I can't say that. I want you to feel right away, well, if I say this, it's going to hurt his feelings. If I say this, it's going to make him feel insecure. If I say this, he's going to feel like he's king of the world. You need to understand your husband. And this is kind of a beautiful thing. People don't realize it, but I realize it because I've defined it. There's literally a science to marriage. There's even a science to love. And I go into all of these things in my books, and especially in the online course we have. And it's well worth your digging into this. Why? Because in the world, we're always looking at, my marriage is not doing as well as it could. Well, how about doing what makes your marriage super amazing? How about that? I was referring to automobiles before, and there's so-so drivers. There's people who shouldn't even be on the road. And then there's people who are like really good drivers. When it comes to marriage, and it's all really based on not just experience. Experience helps, but it's really based on a knowledge of your car. It's based on a knowledge of the road and what other people are going to be doing. And marriage is the same way. You got to understand the intricacies, the mechanics of marriage, but you also have to understand your husband, and you have to understand about yourself. It's unfortunate, but we're not taught about ourselves in this world. There's like this expectation, well, you must know who you are. No one knows who they are. We don't know. I'll give you a great example. Occasionally there's the question, well, do you think you have a soul? And the truth is, that's asking that question in the wrong way. Because the truth is, essentially, we are the soul. God created man in his image. And when I say man, I mean mankind, you too, man, women. And what is his image? His image isn't fingers and toes. His image is spirit. And if you want to go a little further, the image is love. God is love. God is wisdom. God is a freedom that we know through love. And that is what we are. So anyway, I don't want to turn this into a religious discussion, but I do want to remind you, learning as much as you can about yourself, your husband, and marriage. You have nothing to lose when you do that and everything to gain, because you could have a marriage where you're just floating in joy all the time. That's what I want for you. I'm Paul Friedman. I founded the Marriage Foundation. I'm glad you stopped by. You could like the video. You could subscribe to the channel. You could share this, and you could leave a comment. God bless you and take care.